Hello, everybody. It's Russell Nolte, host of The Complete Creative, and I am here with my good friend Wendy Shaner to talk about virtual conferences. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, how are you doing, Russell? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm just going to test for a second and make sure that we are recording everywhere and that everything is live before we get
Okay.
started. But while I do that, why don't you tell everybody about who you are?
My name's Wendy Shaner, and I am a comic creator. I have the comic series Naughty Fairies Stripper Assassins. We've done, let's see, 5 Kickstarters. All of them have been really successful. Each one's more successful than the last. And our last campaign that just ended was for Naughty Fairies Comic Convention for 2020. And we launched that January 1st of this year. And it did really well. We had a really good time. I think backers just received the last of their packages within the last week, and it's been great. They're really happy.
I mean, I am fascinated by this because I remember when you told me about it, or when it launched, I was like, what is going on here? Like, I don't understand what you're doing. Like, I had no idea what a virtual convention was. And now that I've been thrust into the virtual unknown, I look back and I'm like, wow, what a prescient thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
what an amazing like foresight to have this plan.
Right? If it could have only been that way. It was just such a fluke because back in like I want to say, oh, sorry, my phone totally fell. Sorry about that. Back in, I think it was October, um, I was looking for kind of a different, unique way of running my Kickstarter because, everybody's Kickstarters have been very, very much the same. And someone had asked me, like, they said, well, when are you coming to this location? Or when are you coming to the East Coast? Or things like that. And I'm like, there's no way I can travel to all these different cons right now. As much as I would love to, I'm just not there yet. And so I started thinking, well, what can I do where I can have like all that con kind of swag, the books, the badges, the bags, all these things, and get books out to people without actually being at all these different locations at the same time or all across the country. So that's when I came up with our Naughty Fairy Comic Con. And so we had badges made up. You guys can see here. We had lanyards, the badges. We had swag bags made. So you could hold all your stuff. And then we even did a convention program with artist highlights and spotlights, a programming for the show, and a map of all the different floor plan for the show. We really wanted it to make it feel like you're at a comic convention. And then one of our stretch goals was actually to put in con photos of different fan favorite images. So we did that. We put that together. One of our backers, Joshua Main, kept doing updates as a guest relations person. And we even put that into the program for people who weren't necessarily on the feed and didn't see it. And it turned out really funny. It was great. Everybody really enjoyed it. And it when people started getting their packages with all this having to be home and stay at home orders all over the country, we're all stuck in the house. We can't go to cons. We're all sad and bummed out about it. And then here come programs and con badges and, you know, different books and coins and hatches and magnets and all this con swag was getting to people's doors, and they were so happy. And I got more positive feedback just about like, you don't even know how much I needed this right now, and how, special it is to have these memories as they're going through the program books for people who send in pictures like, wow, I remember that con and it was so great and I had so much fun and thank you for putting it in there, because like my kids are all grown now and those pictures from like 15 years ago, and for them to look at it brought back memories for them. So it was really cool and a very positive um, experience for people. And it was, within what, after my campaign ended, within weeks, you had people all over the place talking about virtual Comic Cons and what to do and how to do it. And, people were doing all these things and they were just like, I don't even know. Like, how do you do this? Because this was a Kickstarter. So we had all the physical stuff to go with the con, whereas a lot of people are just doing the sales, which I did too, but I did mine in a different way.
Absolutely. Before I want to keep going, but your phone keeps vibrating. Could you like
Uh,
turn the notifications off on it? Is that possible?
yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Um,
Meanwhile, I'm going to respond to Russell Allen, who challenges me to a duel because there's only one. There's only room for one Russell in these parts, and I disagree, man. Anyone with a Russell with two L's is cool with me. Like, I'm very happy with to have two Russells, five Russells,
all right.
20 Russells, just the convention of Russells.
Is that better?
I'm not sure. We'll see when you have another notification if it keeps going. Uh,
Sorry
so
about that.
um, no, it's fine. This is all like this is all. The nice thing about live is you have no idea what's going to happen. uh, so I'm just gonna make a note here for my editor. So uh, I want to really go into the nitty gritty because we all know that Emerald City postponed and WonderCon postponed and all of these shows postponed, and it's probably not going to be the last one. We're all just waiting on pins and needles for uh, San Diego to cancel and for a lot of other shows to cancel afterwards.
Yeah.
But I am so fascinated because I know the programming side of it. Like, I know the digital part of it, but you really did a great job of like building this sort of online fan engagement for this convention and making like all of these physical goods. And I'd love for you to talk about if you were to do it again, sort of like, let's just build this from scratch. So I can maybe add some stuff about programming because that's the sort of thing that I'm special that like I've specialized in these shows and doing like the online sort of like programming guide. Like, I'll be the programming director and you can be the festival director. Does that sound good?
Okay, we can try.
All right. Well, let's see how it works. So okay, so
Okay.
uh I'm looking for a guest list and you're going to fill in Artist Alley. So one of the
Okay.
things that I thought was so great about your convention is like you really had like an Artist Alley. You went out to artists and you gathered them and they did uh and they did like specials for your convention, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the people that were listed in Artist Alley were people who had worked on Naughty Fairies series in the past. So I had, from book one, I had Ryan Kincaid, I had Tone Rodriguez, Nia Rufino. Um, I had a lot of different artists that were part of that first book. So I was able to put them into our Artist Alley and offer those books other parts of the campaign. And then for this particular Kickstarter, um, the the focus was actually on the comic convention itself, and we did an exclusive book. So I opted to do and put together a swimsuit edition. So I had artists come in special for the swimsuit edition. We had some great people that contributed a lot of time and energy and support promoting and being part of the project.
And that sort of felt to me kind of like the Monsters and Dames that Emerald City does. They do a book for monsters and for all the people that are in their artist alley, and that year they kind of do They do like a book that you can buy and then go and get it signed by everybody. Is that's sort of the feel that you were going for too, right?
Yeah, it was. I wanted it to be something, and that was more of what our program ended up being. So instead of just an art book, I did it more as the programming for it. And um, I think it really made it feel more like an actual, like I was there. It was more of a physical convention more than just a typical Kickstarter that, I mean, how many different ways can we run a Kickstarter and have it be unique and stand out from someone else's? Because they're all pretty much run the same way.
Absolutely. But if someone was what I'm I guess what I'm really interested in is someone whose like show got postponed, right? Like so like their show got canceled for the year, like or they're wondering what to do or like how to get something that is physical. What I really love is like a show has these assets already, right? Like they have artists, they have these pieces that they could come and do something really amazing with. And I think what I've seen when shows are postponing, instead of using those assets that you are using, that you use for your show, they're just kind of saying, well, we're just going to go online. We're not going to offer any of these con exclusives. We're not going to do any of this stuff. But you really proved in your campaign, which raised over $13,000, that uh, that there's a place for like these like memorabilia of a show, even if the show is virtual and they didn't go there, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've already got requests for when's the next one? When's the next comic convention? Because this was so much. Um, so yeah, I think instead of just canceling and looking at it like, man, I had all these exclusives I was going to do for this particular show, you can put that back into a different type of format and not just do online sales, because I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people do online sales, which is great. I don't want to take anything away from that. I'm not putting that down at all. I just did mine differently. So instead of just having online sales, I did it through crowdfunding. And we looked at how we could make it more of an experience more than just online sales.
Let's talk about that. What did you do specifically besides making it? We all know Kickstarter is time based. So, like, what did you do in that 30 days to really make it feel like an experience and drive that experience home for people?
What I was doing is I would do like online, Q&As on Facebook, for example, seemed to be the place where most of my backers were finding me. So I would go online, I would do Q&As, I would share stories. We did con stories. Different people would come in and share their stories. We just kind of did it very casually. I did live drawings. We did a few uh, kind of just impromptu, like, hey, I'm going to be online live. Let's chat. And let's have like those artist alley things. I mean, because one of the things I love about going to the is artist alley. I mean, that's my favorite place to go, is to hang out at artist alley and chat with everybody and talk with everybody and share stories and experiences and kind of talk shop. And I really enjoy that. So I just took that experience and what I enjoy from the comic conventions and applied that to the Kickstarter. And so we did it that way. I mean, is there things I would do differently? Oh, I would have a lot more people involved in live video feeds and things like that. I don't think anybody was really ready for what I had proposed. And now that, we're doing all these live shows and things, we're seeing those all over the place. People are more comfortable, and I don't think it would be as difficult to get people to join in on the live video feeds.
Yeah, I definitely agree to that. So, I think that's a good place to go next. Is like, okay, so I would like to talk about like the things that you would do differently and the things you absolutely would do the same. So, I think let's go to the bad part first, and then we'll leave the good part for later. What are the
Okay.
things that you really think that you tried that you were hoping would work that just didn't work?
You know what? I really honestly I can't say that anything I tried wasn't successful. Um, because I would put something out and I would offer something new, or I would say we're going to offer this cover. We did a gold membership thing, or we did there was an opportunity. If you brought in another backer, you got a special gold membership card and a discount for future shows and things. And everything that we did, we got a really positive response on because I think people were just so excited and just like all in on the project. So, in terms of things that didn't work, I don't think there's anything I would do differently that way. In terms of stuff that I would like to try, I would definitely want to do more of like a panel scenario where people have an opportunity to talk with a variety of artists, or we actually have a panel of like, how do you kickstart? Um, how do you do composition for covers? Or if I have a panel on doing specific drawing styles. If I want, an anime panel or something like that, I would offer those types of things because I didn't have that ability or knowledge because this was such a brand new concept that hadn't really been done. I didn't know where to go and I didn't know what software is available because I didn't have that expertise or anybody behind me to support on that end. But since I've done this, I've had people reach out saying, I've got a couple ideas for what you can do for future panels or how you can set up future panels. So, the next Kickstarter that we do that is a comic convention, I think we're going to try some different things like that.
Awesome. I have a question from one of the people that are watching right now.
Okay.
Teresa Rojas asks, "Can you explain the event as a whole? Was there a live stream piece as well, or was it all asynchronous?" You kind of explained this, but I think it makes sense to kind of look down at at maybe 1,000 foot view and just be like, what was involved in the Naughty Fairies convention overall?
Overall, it was set up with each. Okay, it's such a large concept to break it down to that specific. It's kind of more challenging. The way I set up the Kickstarter and the way that we did this overall was we set it up with the idea that you have different admission packages, which gets you your badge, your swag bag, and your program. That was like the basic admission. Then from there, you could have a book added, you could have a t-shirt added, coins, the con swag, because that was focus was to bring that experience. In addition to that, we had all the exclusive books and prints and things like that. Now, that was for the main Kickstarter part. On the other side, we did have some live discussion, and that was more like con stories, kind of trying to bring the artist alley to life. So we wanted to give you more of that experience of sharing stories and things like that of going to conventions. Different people that people wanted to know, well, how did you meet, David Harrigan, or how tell us a story about Kara Nicole, or things like that. So in that aspect, we brought in the live piece, but like I said, as something I want to do in the future is I want to add and build on that. Now that I have more, um, I think, support on the other side behind the scenes, I think I can make that happen. I just didn't have that going in because it was a totally new concept.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the world of like, there's been a couple of people that like have done certain things like this before, like or attempted some sort of like live conference. But even in the world of live conferences, this was quite uh, this was quite unique in its in the experience as well. So I have pulled up your Kickstarter page, and I'm just going to go through a couple of things for people that are listening to audio later, and just talk a little bit about. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the actual page itself. So you set this up much like any other. You were bound by the rules of Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
So You had the digital edition, the digital swimsuit edition, which you said was your exclusive sort of the Monster and Dames style exclusive pinup book, right?
Right.
And then you could also get like a Tiki Metal card. What was the Tiki Metal card?
They're just different metal cards. Like I have a couple with me here. Like this one was one of the metal cards. This one was by Nancy Vasconcelos, and
Okay.
she did two. And these were two of the stretch goals. So
And people had the
you
option for one
could
of those?
you well these ended up being free in stretch goals.
Okay.
So, but you could get a metal card that was one of the covers was the Tiki by Scott Doc Vaughn. He
Okay.
did one.
Awesome. And so for $9, you have your basic admission. And
Right,
that included a badge, a lanyard, a swag bag, a program,
right.
the digital swimsuit edition, and whatever the physical stretch goals were. I mean, that's a pretty banging that's a pretty banging package for $9. You would not find that at San Diego Comic Con.
No, you would not. You would not. And I wanted everybody to feel like I wanted to start off with the basic, you get your bag, you get your con badge, you get your lanyard, you get your program. Because when you go to a convention, those are three things that almost every convention you get to walk out of. If it's
Right.
so that's what I wanted people to come away with, just like buy in. I wanted them to feel like they were a part of the project just right from the beginning. For $9, it gets you in the door. And then with all the stretch goal stuff, you got another, I think there were 22 stretch goals that we unlocked.
Awesome. Yes, and then I see you go up, you get exclusive prints. You get I see in the middle here you have a virtual convention map, which is the artist alley and where everybody is, which I thought even though it was virtual and people were not literally sitting there, it brought some sort of semblance of like that it was really taking place somewhere. So I very much like that.
Yeah, I did too. That was a lot of fun because I also went through and some of my previous backers ended up being in the on the show floor doing different things. So they weren't the artists or but they were part of the experience, so I put them in there.
Awesome. And yeah, all of these people, all the artists are people that have worked on your Naughty Fairies campaigns in the past, right?
Yeah, unless they were like I said, I put a few fans in there that
Hmm.
have backed since like day one that I wanted to just kind of give a little holler out to.
That's awesome. So if you're watching this on the live stream, then you'll see that this is the $9 package. You can see there's a badge, there's a bag. Uh, the basic admission for $19 got you more stuff, and you just sort of went up and up and up and kept getting more things. And uh, uh, I really, my brain can't wrap around sort of the Brian Polito method of doing Kickstarters, which is like the method of like filling people with so much stuff that like their brains explode at every level they go up. And like there's clearly Brian clearly had an influence on how you're running this campaign or probably all of the campaigns because like I can see it's like, hey, if you get $69, you're going to get 100 things. But if you do like $300, you're going to get like 1,000 things. And like my mind just boggles at everything that you get as you start going up and up and up in this price in these price tiers.
Yeah. With the those big $300 packages are like all the covers in addition to all the stuff, the t-shirt, the holofoil book, exclusive um uh merchandise in addition. So I really and then I didn't put a limit on how many books you were going to get. So anything I added to the campaign as we went ended up being part of that $300 package, which I think people were really appreciative of because I know, a lot of Kickstarters, it's like, okay, here's your package, and then you can add on, add on, add on. And if you miss one of those add ons at the end, it can be a little frustrating because you can miss out on a book that you really want. Whereas with those $300 packages or those great big packages, you get everything that gets offered, which I think people really appreciate.
Right. I agree. When I run a Kickstarter, I always want to include all of the stretch goals for everybody so that they don't have to worry about missing on something.
Yeah.
And I see you also offered grading services as well. See,
Yeah, that was a new service. I mean, we started seeing that in the last few years at the conventions. They grade on site and things like that. And I thought, I've been getting asked a lot about grading services, so we offered it. Had a couple people bite, which was fine. I mean, it didn't hurt me to offer it, and I wanted to see how it would go. So I went ahead and put it out there.
and it's
Think
and
I don't know if grading is as popular as it was, or if it's just certain types and titles that are still like popping when it comes to grading services.
Yeah, I don't know. Like one thing that you can tell from this campaign is that you love conventions. You
I
love
do.
all of this part of conventions. I mean, I know that you love conventions because we've talked a lot about it.
Yeah,
But you can just see how much you love the entire experience of conventions on this page.
I do. I do. I think it's the highlight. And so, um, for me, with all the shows getting canceled, it hit my heart pretty hard. And really thankful that um, I had put this project together because I wasn't the only one who was feeling it. Now other people are
I'm just gonna wait and see if this kicks back in.
sorry,
Wait
did
a
I lose
second.
you?
Yeah, for a second. But there you are again. There you are again. Pixelated a little bit, but there we are. Uh,
Russell,
uh,
did I lose you? Are you okay?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I think I got
Hello.
lost. All right. Are you back?
I mean,
Did I lose you or are we okay?
I've been here this whole time. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah, I was getting all sorts of wheelie things. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. No
So,
worries.
like I was saying, with all this stuff that has happened, um, with the pandemic and all the shows getting canceled, I know how I felt, and I was really sad. But at the same time, you know, I was getting all of the Kickstarters sent out, all the packages came in, and I got everything sent out within a few days of each other. Like I would do a huge run and send it out, and I do another huge run of packages and send it out. So everybody ended up getting them within a week of each other, and everybody was opening them up, and it kind of just gave them a little bit of happiness for what they were all kind of missing. So I was really glad I was able to do that, and it made me happy. Even though we didn't have a physical convention, this was so much fun to put together, and
I mean,
it's
I
definitely
love that
something I
you
want to do again.
yeah, I mean, I love that you're like that. You kind of, I love the love that you put into it, clearly. But I love that, like, for me, for instance, like I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so I did this. I'm doing these conventions, right? I'm doing them 100% for free, and they're going, like, I don't know what's gonna happen after that. But like when I think of like how to, monetize a thing in the future, and how to like make it feel like a con experience, like there's not very many examples of somebody who's done like a comic convention and actually monetized it in a way that and like made the fans excited about the what's coming even though it wasn't physically there. So I love
Yeah,
that. I mean, I love all the things you're saying, but the most thing I love most, frankly, is that like people responded to it in a monetary fashion, not just an enthusiasm fashion, and they really like got behind it and like backed the campaign and showed
yeah,
you that there was a reason to do it again.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I do have, um, uh, we've got a ClickCon coming up with Tom Hutchinson and CB Zane and I are doing a ClickCon. And I can't say too much about it, but he announced it at VirtuaCon this last weekend. So I can share out that we are doing a comic convention. We're going to do it. It's going to be a little bit like what I had, and then a little bit of something new. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun because now it's not just Naughty Fairies. Now it's going to be Naughty Fairies and two other creators and their new books, because we're all doing a special new stuff. Each one of us has something new coming out. So it's not Naughty Fairies per se from me, but it's part of that universe. And that's
Awesome.
that's all I can say.
So if someone is looking to do this for themselves, what are the things that you say they absolutely must like include based on your experience? You can cut out all the things that like worked but maybe didn't work great, or that there were I'm sure there were things that, you thought were going to go gangbusters and they went and they did okay, but they didn't do amazing. So like what do you think someone it, maybe 3 to 5 things that someone must include if they were to do this for themselves and use this as a model?
Okay, so using what I did as a model, the thing you absolutely have to have, and you actually, I think first you have to think comic convention. What are the things that you always get or do when you go to a comic convention? Because everybody's experience is different. Mine is visiting artist alleys. So artist alley was really, really important to me. If you are one of the toy guys and you want to do your Kickstarter and do a toy convention, then that's where you need to focus. So I think you first have to identify what kind of con goer you are and what kind of experience do you look for when you go to your conventions, and then start building from there. So number one, you have to identify the best parts of the con for you, and those are the people, and those are the fans and the backers that you want to be part of your project. um, then you can build from there. So for me, it was about um, the con swag, because I think when you go to a convention, I have a box that's right by my front door, and it has every badge from every convention that we've gone to, and it goes into this. I think it was a cork bottle box. So it's glass in the front, and then it's just this wood box with an opening. And I would drop our con badges or our wristbands or whatever in their pins. And to me, having a con badge and your lanyard is like right up there. If you don't want to do lanyards, you can do wristbands. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but you identify what it is that you want when you leave a show. I like having the program, because I always go back through and I need to know where everybody is, and I kind of map out my plan of attack when I go to shows. Okay, I need to talk to Russell. I need to talk to, Ryan. I need to talk to, Wayne. I need to talk to all these different people, and I make my way through the show. So I just took what I like and applied it to this, project, and I think it worked out well. So my program, that's another thing that I think is really important, and your bag. So I think having those main things, and then finding that item that people want. For me, it was doing, okay, let's do a pinup issue, because I wasn't going to have enough time to get the fourth book done because I just finished book three. So this was kind of the filler between book three and book four. So I knew I couldn't have book four finished. So that's why I went ahead and I opted for a swimsuit issue.
Well, I think that's really great for a different reason, which is this filled a gap for you. You wanted to do a campaign, and you knew you couldn't get another issue out, but you could put together an experience for people that they would enjoy. And when creators, any creator is looking at this now, not necessarily if they run a show or they're even looking to run a show, but if they're just looking to say, I I need I want to run a project in January, but I don't have a book done, or I don't have anything done. Like, this is a great lesson in how you can utilize the assets that you have to make something that you can actually make money on.
Yeah.
and also help your fans, and also like service your fans as well.
Well, I think this, was such incredible timing that I could not be happier with how that part of it came out. Because who would have guessed that we would be sitting here, in April, not being able to go anywhere, and I launched this in January, and stuff got shipped out the end of March, beginning of April. So I could not have planned this at all. And to think that all this stuff happened in such a short period of time, I'm just thankful that I was able to, provide people with something pretty awesome. Because if I had tried to launch this even in February, I don't know if I would have been able to get everything printed, made, and sent out in time. Those campaigns have got to be really struggling, because if they're getting stuff from other places in the country that aren't open, that's going to delay them out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I want to talk about what I've learned from doing virtual conventions and on the guest list side of it. So, I have done a lot of work on the programming side. And so I was really excited the first time I ran this show, just my show WannaCon, just to have uh, people and guests that I really enjoyed hanging out with. Like I wasn't trying to book any big name guests. I was just trying to book people from the Wannabe Press family and do like a really small thing. But for our new show, we're doing the Online Writers Conference this weekend, and then on May 1st and 2nd, we're doing Alt FCD, which is the like Alt Free Comic Day. And there was a big difference between the reactions that I got from having my awesome group of indie creator friends involved, and now, Alt FCD has Marv Wolfman as the headliner, and Kevin Eastman's going to come and show up, and the Drawing Blood team, David Avalone and Ben Bishop and Troy Little are going to do a panel, and like Richard Starking's going to do a panel, and like it's not just now. The reaction from the press is quite a bit different now that I can go and like put these names out there, as opposed to before when I did it in a week, so it wasn't like I had a big plan, but just the having the guest list where there were like known commodity names outside of like mainstream comic names really made a huge difference for us when we were doing our press for these two conventions.
Yeah.
So are you you said you're going to try and bring programming into the next time you do this, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts on like how you would run the programming next time, or whether you would do live or recorded, or like what sort of methodology you're thinking of for the next campaign when it comes to doing
We're
your
thinking
live
of doing
stuff?
some live panels. Is doing the live stuff, doing some live drawings and sketches and artist panels, um, creator panels, things like that. Um, like I said, there are the next big thing, because I'm hoping to get book 4 ready to launch by June, but it's not going to be set up as a convention. It's not going to be a con. But come September, we're doing ClickCon, and that's with Tom Hutchinson and CB Zane. And then I'm looking to see when a good time for our next comic convention will be. And that will be when I kind of implement some of these other new ideas into it. Because I can't, with like I said, with book 4, we're not doing a con. And with ClickCon, I've got other people that I'm working with, and we're still working out how we want to run things. So I can't really comment on that part yet. Whereas by the time I do Naughty Fairies Comic Con for number 2 for the second year, um, I'll be able to, talk a little bit more about that. But that's probably 6, 7 months away before I even delve into that project.
Yeah, well, it sounds great. I mean, you have sort of the con layout part of it now, and I think if you add on programming on top of it, and some live sort of functionality, whether that's people paying to be behind a Zoom room, or you do panels live on Facebook. I think that it's a great way to get more exposure for the convention. I mean, it's a tried and true method to get exposure for a convention because every convention uses it now to like bring in more attendees and more people and get more eyeballs onto it, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
now especially, I mean, now we've got all sorts of virtual conventions happening. Um, you know, I know Brian Pluto did his con not too long ago, and he had panels and drawings and uh, like giveaways and things like that. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work because I think they did, I want to say 3 days, and it was quite intense.
yeah, absolutely. What I really love is for someone that goes to conventions, they can probably and likes conventions and misses that experience or wants to replicate that experience. Uh, there's a template out there to like you basically took everything that you loved about conventions and tried to replicate it digitally. You didn't try and break the mold or do something crazy. Like it was like once you broke it down for me, I understood what you were doing.
Yeah.
You were bringing a bunch of people together. You were putting together a program book. You were doing some live video. You had the swag bag that you see at every convention. You took all of these elements that are recognizable to anybody who does conventions or enjoys conventions, and you put it together in a package that worked online.
Yeah.
And
It was
it's
a lot of fun. And I'm expecting to see more of that stuff happening. I think now that it's out there and it's been done, I think it's just going to get better from here. I mean, people are going to build upon what I've done and make it even better.
absolutely. I think you're going to build upon it and make it better as well. Making your next one better. And that's what you do. Like
Yeah.
you put out something, you test it, you see if it has you see what works and what doesn't work, and then the next one is slightly better and the next one is slightly better than that. We're doing for our the convention we're doing this weekend. Or I suppose in the past when you're listening to this, if you're not listening to this live stream, but the convention we're doing in this weekend, we're putting together breakout sessions and Zoom rooms and like after parties, and we're doing all sorts of things that I never would have thought of in that first convention in the alt FCD convention. We have a Facebook group with like dozens of with dozens of free comics and creator talks, and we're planning all of this stuff to bring make it more interactive but also more time based because we're planning on cutting on archiving that whole Facebook group like the day after the convention ends. So you have to come those 2 days or you don't get access to all of those comics. So but all of that was probably not possible the first time I thought about it because you have to put something out and see what's working and be like, I really wish I had this part.
Well, now that the convention's been done this way, it's like, oh, I didn't even think of this way of doing something. Or, I didn't think that this is even something is possible. And then now that I've had so many people come to me and say, I can help you with this technical aspect because I had no clue how to do any of that. I mean, it wasn't until we had to stay home that with work, I'm doing online instruction and teaching people how to access like Google Meet and Zoom and all of those. I didn't know how to do that until, this event happened. So now that I have even that knowledge, there's so much more that I could do. And I'm like, oh, if I had known this, this would have been really helpful. So it's just stuff that's going to add to, the next Kickstarter con experience for Naughty Fairies so that we can do more with it.
Can you share any of those things that you found technically that was like, oh, if I only knew about this, then it would have been really helpful?
Well, like using Google Meet or Zoom. Like I had no clue that those were even things that I could use. And now that I know about them, it's like, oh, that's fantastic. Now I know how to use them and implement them for the next project. My phone is like dying. Can you hang? Like, how
Well,
much
I
time do we
think that
have left?
we're about to end. Actually, we're right
Oh,
almost
okay.
at the end of our hour together. So
Okay.
I wanted to
Because
talk.
I'm at like 3%. So I can either plug in or we can go
Well,
for another couple minutes.
let's just let's do how I always end this show. So the last question that I always ask is, what piece of advice would you give this time about virtual conventions that you would like people to leave this show with as they go and plan their own events in the future? And then your social media handle, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay. Um, the best advice I can give is find something that you're passionate about and something that you're going to have fun with. This shouldn't be a chore. You don't want it to be um, stressful because you're going to spend a lot of time on it. You're going to spend a lot of time on whatever project it is you're putting together, whether it's a virtual convention, a comic book, a novel, artwork, whatever it is. And you want it to be something that you enjoy. Um, Putting together the comic convention for me was so much fun and I enjoyed it so much because that's where my passion is. I love going to the shows. So my advice is find something you're passionate about and then have fun with it. And if it's a little out there, it's not a big deal. You can rework it. You don't have to offer everything. If something doesn't work, you can always pull it out of the campaign and put something else in. Nothing is written in stone. Don't be afraid to take risks.
Awesome, I love it. And
Um,
where can we find you online?
I'm on Facebook at Wendy Shaner, and you can find me at Naughty Assassins or Fairy Assassins on Facebook. Um, Also, Instagram's Comic Art Groupie, and Twitter is Comic Art Groupie. So those are different places you can find me. I also have an Etsy store. It's Etsy /shops /hero comic accessories, and you can find back issues there as well.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, Wendy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Russell. This was a lot of fun.
Yay!